world starts to turn around each bend, I've learned you are good, so good. And when somebody's hand holds me up, helps me stand, you are so good. And with every breath I take in, I'll tell you I'm grateful again, 'cause it's more than enough just to know I am loved and you are good. So how can I thank you? And what can I bring? What can a poor man lay at the feet of a king? So I'll give you my whole heart. It's all that I have, to show you I'm grateful for holding my life in your hands. When it's dark and it's cold and I can't feel my soul, you are still good. When the world is gone gray and the rain's here to stay, you are still good. And with every breath I take in, I'll tell you I'm grateful again. And the storm, though it swells, even then it is well, and you are good. So how can I thank you? And what can I bring? What can a poor man lay at the feet of a king? So I'll give you my whole heart. It's all that I have, to show you I'm grateful for holding my life in your hands. So I'll give you my whole heart. It's all that I have, to show you I'm grateful for holding my life in your hands. You are good.
Thank you, we appreciate that, Sarah. Sarah, of course, this is her home church, and she married Tim Lavier. And Tim is a student at Heartland Baptist Bible College. Sarah graduated. Tim is working on his graduate degree there. And so I've asked Tim to preach for us Wednesday night, so you'll be sure to hear him, young man preach, encourage him. I want you to turn to Matthew chapter 15, if you're not there. As you're turning there, I would report to you about Heartland Baptist Bible College. Things are going well there. They have about 350 students. And as of Thursday afternoon, the May offering for the school was $1,058,000. The goal was $1 million, so that is really good. And they need that. The operational budget for the school for 1 year is $4.6 million. So we appreciate your help. When you give to missions, you help contribute to that to help not only our own young people who go to Bible college, but others that can graduate. It's one of the lowest ones for room, board, and tuition for a whole year. This is hard to believe. It's $1,700. That's nothing. And at the lower end, a lot of Bible colleges are higher than that. So the reason why it is so low is because churches like ours give them as a mission project and also give the May offering to help support school during the year. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21. We'll be reading that in just a moment. This morning, we think of Mother's Day and mothers. I want us to think of something for a moment of faith or family crisis. Probably no day goes by without a mother have some kind of crisis. Now, what's a crisis to you may not be a crisis in this person. You know, if you can't find your shoes you can wear for school, that's not a crisis. It's a crisis for the one who can't find them. It's a crisis for the mother because you want to give the shoes on so get out of the house. This morning I couldn't find my wedding ring and I thought, oh no, how do I tell my wife that? I found it. That was going to be quiet. Then I thought I lost my contact lens. That would really provide for a very short sermon. I couldn't find it. I had to look all over the bathroom. I didn't want to tell her I couldn't find it. They're very hard to find. I'm looking around and I said, Lord, would you help me? Sure enough, it was in the corner of my eye. Oh, I can see! I'm healed! Now I can see everybody very plainly. It helps to see. It helps to read your notes too. Without my notes, I'd be in trouble. Without my contacts, I can't see them. It could be a blessing for you, a crisis for me. Matthew 15, verse 21. We're going to read about a mother here with a special problem. Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon. Stop there for a moment. If you get your Bible map, do it later. Tyre and Sidon were far north of Jerusalem. They were in the land of Phoenicia. And they were coastal cities. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, that is to Jesus, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. I want you to notice something there. The woman is saying, Have mercy on me. But it's her daughter was afflicted. So really her daughter needed the help. But we understand she was distressed. She had a crisis because her daughter was sick. And every mother and every parent knows what that's like when the kids are sick. Especially when they're real infant babies, when they're newborn babies, they can't communicate. They cry. And you go, what's wrong? They just keep crying. They can't say, I got a headache, I got a stomach ache. It's hard. She knew that her daughter was grievously vexed with the devil. We'll talk about that further in a minute. But notice she asked God to help her. I found that very interesting. Because her daughter didn't affect her, and your daughter or your son doesn't affect you. At least it should. And so, Lord, have mercy on me, my daughter's sick. But he answered her not a word. Doesn't sound like the simple Jesus, huh? And disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. In other words, she's bugging us till we get lost. Good attitude for those guys, huh? They're also the same ones that made the little children go away. Get away, these little kids. We don't want the kids around here. No kids, no kids, no kids. And Jesus said, Suffer or allow the little children to come unto me and forbid them not. For of such is the kingdom of heaven. And so you find a church with no kids, no children, young people, it won't be long, we won't have a church. So thank the Lord for the younger people, for the families, for children. And if they do cry, they'll get over it once in a while. And they can't hold their breath until they die. If they say, I'm going to hold their breath until they die, say, go ahead. Because they won't die. They won't have to breathe. Verse 24, But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So Jesus answered a question at this point. What he said was, you're not a Jew, so I came to deal with them first. That's what he was saying. So then look what the lady, this mother was very smart. Aren't all mothers are smart. Then came she, that's the mother, and worshipped him. Now, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I think she worshipped him, that is, she got on her hands and knees and worshipped him and said, you're the one, you're the Christ, you're the Savior. She worshipped him. She just didn't say, you're a good guy, I believe you can do this. She worshipped him. Doesn't the Bible say we're supposed to worship one God? And that was the right one she was worshiping. So she was worshiping him, even though she wasn't of the house of Israel. She had no sense to know she had to worship him. And she said 3 words in verse 25 at the end, Lord, help me. Notice again, she is requesting help for herself, which in effect will help her daughter, which in effect will help her. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. In other words, the same thing he said before. And that's kind of strong language, isn't it? This woman was so smart. She was a quick thinker on her feet. Some people can think quickly on their feet, some people cannot. She was good. So Jesus, every time Jesus said something, she came back with another one right at him. And she said, the woman, truth, Lord, yeah, what you're saying is true. Yet the dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Wasn't that a good comeback? I can't think fast on my feet. I always like somebody who can think fast on their feet. That was a good answer. 28, then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, he didn't say old woman. He said, O woman, great is thy faith. She wasn't the house of Abraham, and she had great faith. Jesus said that she had great faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. What did she want her daughter to behold? And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. The Bible doesn't say where she was. She was probably at home, or she was not there with them anyway. She was healed at that moment. Wow. I want us to think this morning about faith for family crisis. Faith for family crisis. You know, faith is believing what you cannot see. This woman believed her daughter to be well, and she was going to get well. And so we read in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You don't see them yet, you believe them. And so mothers are like that, aren't they? They can see things that maybe dad can't see or that other people can't see. And so this woman saw that in her mind anyway, their daughter's going to be healed, and she was going to be the one working on it. She was going to go to someone who could help her. So faith, she had faith. Do we have faith like that? And also for family, and then crisis. What is a crisis? Well, we all have our own crisis. And I had two this morning, as I said, but I'm over them now. I can see, and I'm still married, so I'm okay. Even if you don't have the ring, you're still married, you know, but it's hard to explain to the wife, what is your ring? A crisis, this is what the dictionary says. A crisis is a crucial situation. Was this lady in a crucial situation? Absolutely. Picture you mothers, picture you and your daughter being sick like this, and really she said she was demon possessed. It also means a turning point. In other words, this crisis, the daughter was going to either get better or get worse. Many times when people are in the hospital will say something like, so-and-so was in the hospital and they took a turn for the worse, meaning they got worse than what they were. I was going to say worser, but that's not the word. They got worse than what they were. And it's not good. So I want us to think this morning about faith for family crisis. Every mother faces those, we saw in the video. As we know from being a mother, you and fathers, if you're paying attention, there's all kinds of crises. Sometimes we fathers add to the crisis, don't we? That's why the Bible says to the dads, provoke not your children to wrath. That's not said to the mothers. They know better. There's something inside a guy that likes to get cranked up, you know. So we'll say that for Father's Day. Faith has a very great importance in this lady's life, this mother's life, and our life. Remember, it's believing what you cannot see. Now, you may not even be a mother. I see a lot of guys. You may not be a father, or you may be a father, but we have to have faith. Believe what you cannot see. Whether it's someone in our family that is sick, or maybe you don't have a job, you need a job, or you don't have a house, you need a house, or you need a better car, whatever it is, we have to have faith and believe. Listen, saving faith, we receive Christ as our Savior. We have faith, we're going to heaven, but you've never been there, have you? I guarantee if I've been there, I ain't coming back. If I'm gone, nobody knows where I'm at. First off, good for me, bad for you, but I'm in heaven, I'm gone, and I am not coming back, sorry. I love you, but I'm not coming back. These people said they went to heaven and they danced around for a while and came back. They're full of baloney. If you left this world and went to that one, you would not want to come back. But by faith we believe it's true and it's a real place. We don't see it like we do our own house, our own car, our own whatever. But by faith we see that someday we'll be there. Faith in Christ saves the soul. That's extra important. That's eternally important. Faith brings answers to prayer. I think sometimes God doesn't answer our prayers because He wants to see how serious we are about believing He can do it. Now we pray prayers, we want Him answered instantly, like the next 5 seconds. It's funny though, when God asks us to do something, He says, let me think about that, Lord. about it for 5 years, and then you don't do it. That's about right, isn't it? So we have to continue to have faith and believe and pray that you're praying to someone who can do something. The reason why we pray, and the reason why this woman came to Jesus, because she couldn't do anything herself. The Bible does not say this, but no doubt she had sought other help to make her daughter well. If she was just desperate to come to Jesus, she probably went some other places. She tried to get some help for her daughter because she loved her, and those places were not successful, but she kept the faith, if you will. And she went to the right person at the right time who could help her, and he did. But it took a little bit of convincing on her part to Jesus. So maybe he went to see how sincere she was about getting her daughter well. So we have to pray in faith, believing. Faith drives away anxiety. Do you know why people in our world today are so full of anxious and full of anxiety? One of the reasons is because they haven't talked to Heavenly Father. The Bible says, be careful for nothing. Don't you hate that? What does nothing mean? Nothing. Be careful or full of care for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your request, not your demands, let your request be made known to God. And so, be careful for nothing. Faith also pleases God. Paul tells in Hebrews, without faith it's impossible to please Him. For he that cometh to God must believe that He is, and that He is reward those who diligently seek Him. One of faith's greatest tasks is when a loved one is afflicted. Your husband, your wife, the kids, and God forbid that all the kids are sick at once. Usually one kid gives to the next one, they get to the next one, then dad gets it, mom gets it. Well, they're all sick at once. That's bad. We all can remember as kids, like in the story, when you got sick, you had reverse peristalsis. Medically, it means you threw up. That's the two medical words I know. The peristalsis moves your food along through your system, and reverse means instead of going down, it comes up. So, no one likes to see someone they love sick, no matter what it is, especially when they don't know what's wrong. You say, what's wrong? Even someone who can talk and reason and think, I don't know, I just don't feel good. What, you got a headache? No. Are you sick to your stomach? No. Sometimes people have, mothers have, the nothings. What do you have? Nothing. You have this? Nothing. 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 All of us have the nothings once in a while. There's really nothing wrong. It's probably all up here. It's psychosomatic. But it bothers us when someone we love is in a bad way. Family crisis drives us to our knees. Sometimes, one more time, sometimes God allows these crises in our families to cause us to pray because otherwise we wouldn't do it. When things are going good, we need to pray. When things aren't going good, we're supposed to pray then too. In this case, this poor mother, things weren't going too good. I want us to think just for a few minutes this morning about some lessons from this mother of great faith to us, to mothers today, to fathers, to teenagers, to all of us, but specifically if you think about this mother on Mother's Day. Notice first the dilemma of this mother. You know what dilemma is? The half don't start with D, so I had to use dilemma. A dilemma is a perplexing situation. Mothers, have you ever had a perplexing situation with your kids? Definitely with your husbands. We're talking about kids right now. This woman, she didn't say anything about her husband. Who knows where he was? I have no idea. The Bible doesn't say. But as a mother, a woman doing everything. She said that we read in verse 22, my daughter. Now the Bible doesn't give the inflection of her voice or the tone of her voice, but I think if we read this just a little bit, we can sense the burdened heart of his mother. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. And she wasn't happy about it. Maybe tears started to come down her face. I don't know. You can sense the emotion and see the tears in her eyes. The parallel passage in Mark chapter 7 is the same story in Mark's gospel account. Mark says that it was an unclean spirit. We might say she was demon-possessed. I think there's more demon possession than what we give the devil credit for today. Now, I'm not preaching a message on that. That's for another day, another time. And it is real. You don't become paranoid about it, though. Every time somebody does something wrong or evil, they're not demon-possessed. Maybe they're just stupid. You ever think of that? Yet some of the things that go on, you listen to the news, you watch the newspaper, and you think, how people think this stuff up? I think a lot of it's depossession. Mark said she had an unclean spirit, the daughter. The daughter was controlled by unclean thoughts. Just imagine that for a moment. No controls, no limits. Who knows how long her mother put up with this? Doesn't say how old she was. Doesn't say how long the daughter suffered with this, but she suffered. And probably, I'm reading between the lines a little bit, I'm telling you that, I think the daughter probably suffered times of profane rage. I'm guessing she was a teenager, I don't know. Sorry, girls. She was a teenage girl, and it's not just her hair was messed up like the one in the video, but, you know, rage where she just, everything's wrong. Mom, you're stupid. Dad's stupid. Everybody's stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. I hate you. Oh, if you have any kids, you know what I'm talking about. They don't really mean all that stuff. But they're talking up, and sometimes they may get vulgar and they may use profanities. I think that's what this young girl did, and her mother was very upset about it. But notice this mother's prayer. I think it's a prayer. Notice she said words to him. Hey, when we talk to God, isn't that prayer? So this mother is talking to God. Jesus Christ is God. And she said simply, have mercy upon me, O Lord, thou son of David. Again, since the attitude, emotion, her voice, and her facial features, have mercy upon me. I believe by her saying, Lord, she accepted the deity of Christ. What does the deity of Christ mean? It means God is three people. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. They're all three one. And so she called him Lord. So I think she was accepting him as the deity, as God's Son, who he was. And she believed in it. It's very important. Even today, it's very important to believe he is God. It wasn't just a man who died on the cross. It was the God-man, God in the flesh. And this lady had enough faith to believe they call him Lord. And she also believed he could deliver her daughter. Maybe she heard of Jesus preaching around. Maybe she heard some other healings he had done. I don't know, the Bible doesn't say that. Maybe she had nowhere else to go. You know, it's kind of funny how we have a problem, a crisis, all of us. We go to every place else but the place we should start out. First place we should go to is prayer, talk to the Lord about it. And say that when this man and this woman, this person and that person, and I don't mind helping people, talking to people, but the first thing is talk to the Lord about it. And so, I don't know what all she did, but wherever she went, she didn't get anything settled. Maybe you've been in a situation like this mother. A similar situation. Go right to the Lord. Notice quickly the delay in the Lord's answer. We read there in verse 23a that 23, first part of the verse, that Jesus didn't answer her. He answered her not a word. He didn't say nothing. Don't you hate that when you ask the doctor stuff and he didn't say nothing? Or when he does talk, he uses words this long. Well, 12 consonants and one vowel. And nobody knows how to pronounce them anyway. He doesn't talk to you like a regular person. The Lord said, he didn't say anything at all. Who knows what she was thinking? We know what he was thinking because he was going to answer her prayer. He's God. He knew he was going to answer her prayer, but she didn't know that at the time. Her faith is under fire. Well, I think you might be thinking something like this. Well, you know you call me Lord, I am the Lord, but I'm not ready to answer you just yet. And yet Jesus was her only hope, and he wasn't answering her. Maybe inside she kind of got depressed about it. Sometimes we pray, and it seems like God is silent to you. And if you're not careful, you'll get depressed. And God doesn't answer me. When God doesn't answer our prayers, when people say that to other people, they mean, usually, he's not answering it the way I want to answer it. Or he's not answering it as quick as I want to answer. This woman wanted, right now, that's what she wanted. That didn't happen. He did heal her, but he didn't do it when she said. He did it when he said. And the same thing with you and me in crisis. He will meet the needs, solve the problem when he says it's time, not when you say it's time. And by the way, he might choose not to heal your daughter or heal your crisis. In this case, he did. He doesn't have to do everything the way we say. We don't scream at God and tell him what to do. We say, God, you do this. We ask God what to do. We're his servants. And so she cried for help. This desperate woman, she kept crying out for help, and every time Jesus gave her something, she gave something right back to him. I don't think she was being rude. I think she was smart, in my opinion, and she wasn't going to leave until he did something. I believe that was in her mind. And so notice the disgust of the disciples. We read verse 23 in the last part of the verse. They basically said, get rid of this woman. She's driving us nuts. And we can't help her. She's bugging me. Those disciples, they're wonderful, aren't they? Sometimes they're about as spiritual as a doorknob. You know what I think part of the problem was? I think these disciples were bothered that this lady had more faith than they did. Think about that a minute. We may be bothered by those who have more faith than we do. And we'll say, I wish I had faith like this guy. I wish I had faith like this guy. I wish I had faith like this mother. There's nothing holding you back, brother or sister. I wish you could have as much faith as you want to have. God's not holding back. It doesn't all go to the preacher. It goes to all of his children who want it. And so I think they were bothered by the fact this woman had more faith in them. Instead of being inspired by her and saying, you know what, we need to do this, guys. No, I think they were putting her down so Jesus would get rid of her. We also may be annoyed by those who are more persistent in prayer. Remember the one time when Jesus took the big three to pray? He said, you guys sit over here, I'm going to pray. And he used the word yonder. He must have been from Kentucky, West Virginia, huh? I'm going to go pray yonder. And remember when he came back? Those three, the big three, they were sawing logs. They were sleeping. And he said, what? Couldn't you last 1 hour? So it must have been praying. I think he maybe prayed for at least an hour, in my opinion. Couldn't you guys last just 1 hour? They went away, came back. Every time he came back, they were sleeping again. And so here's some of these same men who this lady keeps bugging Jesus. And they're saying, get rid of this woman. Why? Did she really hurt you? One of them should have said, that's when Peter should have said, shut up. Let Jesus take care of this woman, and you watch how he takes care of her. Because one of these days he's going to be gone. We're going to have to know how to handle people like this. And by the way, he's not here today, so we have to know how to handle people like this too. But I think they were annoyed and bothered, in my opinion. And so the disciples said, well, just get rid of her, get her out of the way. We're tired of putting up with her. Perhaps they also wanted to get back to listening to Jesus. They might have said that, but I think that's not true. They didn't want to get involved. I think that's true. They didn't want to bother. They didn't have the time. They didn't care. It's not their problem. Notice the dimensions of this woman's faith. She was a Gentile, a woman of Canaan. She recognized Jesus as the Messiah. She called him Lord. I don't think she said that word just to impress him. I think she believed it. And we're supposed to believe on the Lord Jesus Christ in order to be saved. And she believed that Jesus was more powerful than the devil. The devil had her daughter under his control, and she knew that much. And she wanted Jesus to take care of this problem. We read in John 8:44 where Jesus was, in my words, barbecuing a bunch of people, and he said, ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. Speaking of Satan. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and the father of that Satan. And so, I think she had more understanding at this point, this time, than the disciples did. They were with Jesus day and night. They heard him preach. They talked to him personally. They asked him questions. And right now, they're not being too spiritual minded. Then she was humbling herself. She took the humble place. The Bible says much about humility, doesn't it? It says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before fall. The Bible says to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. And when he healed her daughter in verse 28, for our understanding, don't you think she was exalted and lifted up? Well, it took a while to get there, though. She took the place and she said, dogs eat the crumbs from the master's table. She was saying herself, she was like, spiritually speaking, a dog, didn't fit in. Think of these words, very humble. Her faith in Christ demanded she kept on praying or asking, coming. Is your faith? Sometimes you have to pray about things for more than 2 weeks. Maybe more than 2 years. Maybe more than 5 years. We'll have to leave that in God's hand. But if we have the faith in Christ like this lady, and you keep coming, God will answer your prayer in His time, in His way. She kept coming to the Lord and asking. The Lord answered this troubled woman's prayer. He saw her great faith and commended her for that. Right in front of the other 12 guys. I bet they felt like disappearing. Jesus had a certain way of put you down, put you in your place without being mean to you. And I think that's what happened there. And you can see in religion, so see, I told you, oh yeah, you know guys are. Like a bunch of guys in the locker room, yeah. We're getting ready for now. Jesus healed her daughter. Let's go, let's get out of here. Her daughter was released from the demon's power. Do you ever think how the girl felt? Wow. And can you imagine when her mother told her what happened? How did all this happen? She didn't know all the theological terms and all this stuff, but she knew something was different in her life now. She was cured of all these problems. How did this happen? And her mother tells her, well, Jesus, I talked to Him, and He's the one that made you well. The mother didn't make her well. Jesus did. The mother benefited from her being made whole, complete. And again, she said twice, Lord, help me. When she really meant it helped her, but it helped her daughter because her daughter affected her grievously. Could you imagine having a son or daughter like that, nowhere to go? Faith under crisis. Believing we cannot see. This woman believed it, but she couldn't see it, but it did finally happen. And then she didn't have to have faith anymore, did she? But in heaven, our faith will become sight. Now it is by faith. We don't see, we don't know. And in our prayers, crisis, a crucial situation, a turning point. You may find yourself today like that as a mother, as a father, as an adult, a teenager, a young person. You have to do the same thing this woman did. Keep praying and keep going. And trust God to answer your fervent, persistent prayer. In James 4:16, the Bible says this, the last part of the verse. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man, that means mankind, man or woman. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Again, prayer is talking to God. In my opinion, she was talking to God directly. She didn't have to pray like we do. She went and talked directly and talked words to Him, and there He was in the flesh. And she continually had that persistent prayer, and her prayer was answered. I do not know a way to calculate this, but I do wonder about how many times prayer is not answered for God's people, because they quit praying too quick. Oh, I prayed for this for a long time. Has it happened yet? No, well then keep on praying. Well, I'm tired of praying. Do you want it to happen or not? Do you believe it's going to happen? Do you want it to happen? Just like this lady. She wanted it to happen so bad, she was willing to do whatever she had to do to make it happen. And guess what? In simple, no uncertain terms, she got what she asked for. Then she asked the Lord to help her. And in fact, He healed her daughter. She was free of the demons. And because she was free, it helped the mother be free of that burden. So God did answer her prayer. Mothers, lead the example of prayer. And continue for your children, for your family. They will know you're a person of prayer, so they will know the secret like this woman did by going continually to the Lord for prayer. That is the answer. Let's stand.